Good evening, San Bernardino. Thank you guys for joining. Tonight, we are going to do a special live, and we're going to discuss a very hot topic right now, which is the new selection of a city manager. So I'm going to make sure that we are broadcasting and that everybody that wants to join can join. So let me double check, make sure we're good. I hope you guys are all having a great evening. Okay. We are on. So what I would ask, because so many have asked about this topic, go ahead and start sharing the feed, let everybody jump in. You can ask your questions. We'll figure it out together, but we got a little bit to go through. So once again, tonight's special episode, new selection of city manager Charles Montoya. So let's get into this. So I want to do a quick background, which I think is very important in this, the full discussion of where we're going with this selection. So prior to what we're going to discuss tonight, there was a number one pick for city manager. We do not know, it was never disclosed who this person was, but what came out, was posted on social media, was that this was a highly qualified candidate, a well-seasoned city manager, as they say, someone with 20 plus years of experience, had a long history of working in communities like San Bernardino, and not only working in those types of communities, but had a great success in bringing addressing homelessness, addressing crime, previous issues with bankruptcy. So all kinds of stuff that we shared in common, being a city of similar size and population, as well as budget. So this person, this candidate, the claim was made that they withdrew from the consideration because after they were selected by a majority of the council, they were sabotaged in some way or another, that they were like, I'm not going to deal with the city of San Bernardino and the elected officials. I'm done. So that was the number one pick that nobody talks about. Okay, that doesn't get brought up in the conversation. So I want to make sure we're very clear about that, because that was a whole thing I had covered with Michael Davis, I believe, posted this online, and other people were coming to the special meetings, and we were talking about this as the special meeting. So we lost the best qualified candidate early on in our pick. Hi, Scott. Hi, Amy. I just want to reiterate, you guys, please go ahead and share and let everybody know that we're on. So that leads us, after this candidate pulls out, the council has this option. What do we do next? They moved to the number two pick. Well, not even a number two pick. What we have learned through discussions in the Inland Empire is that candidates that had been in the consideration moved on, right? There was discussion that someone else had been chosen, the number one, and they have, other people are applying to multiple jobs. Let's be very clear. City managers are, when they're moving, they're looking for other positions. And so they went from the most highly qualified candidate who had touched every area of importance that we were looking for, and they came up with not even two or three pick, the very last guy that was considerable, Steve Kerrigan. Now, Steve Kerrigan was a previously fired city manager from this, who was fired from the city of Merced prior to going to the city of Salinas. And they fired him because he was withholding public financial documents from the elected officials and the city at large. He was refusing to give information about financing. But they thought the mayor, and as was posted online, Theodore Sanchez, Fred Charette, Sandra Barra, and Juan Figueroa thought that this guy was it. This was the candidate that we needed to bring to our city. Now, There's a couple of closed session meetings, and all of a sudden in the last meeting, Kerrigan withdraws his consideration. He says that he has fallen in love again with the city of Salinas, and he just can't see himself coming to San Bernardino. And he's also in love with this one of the superintendent of schools up there. Awesome, great for him, wonderful to be in love. Then a couple days later, last Tuesday, he's actually fired from the city of Salinas by his city council. Now, as we always do, we love to do our homework and follow up with people who live in Salinas and what we're hearing. The reports that are coming out of Salinas are alleging that he was actually going to be fired prior to the city of San Bernardino offering him this position, that there had been an issue with his performance, that there was something going on there. And really, they had given him an opportunity to go find employment somewhere else before they let him go. This is not uncommon. I get it. And look, cities have differences with city managers. That's a very known thing. So they were kind of giving him the friendly handshake, do what you're going to do. And then he pulled out and they were like, yeah, we still don't want you here. And so this is what has been reported, that they were going to let him go no matter what. That's where we left Steve last week. So now our council, after their pick, has the opportunity to say, we lost the #1 most qualified candidate because of sabotage. Now our not even #2 or 3 pick, who has a history of withholding financial information from the public and elected officials, has pulled out on us. The mayor and council had the option to really just start over. They still had Charles McNeely in place. They have time to go out and collect new resumes and have a broader discussion about who we want to bring here. Don't forget that Councilwoman Calvin and Councilman Reynoso have twice moved in 2 previous special meetings to do that same thing, start over. Don't just go and take anybody from the rest of the candidates. Get someone good here. Listen to the community and hear what we're asking for, which is a city manager that we can be proud in, a city manager that will grow and move us forward for the next 10 to 15 years. But the mayor, Theodore Sanchez, Fred Charette, Juan Figueroa, Sandra Ibarra, and Damon Alexander voted against this. They didn't want that. So they decided to move forward. And yesterday, there's a huge announcement. There's an announcement that Charles Montoya is going to be selected as the new city manager. And this article comes with a great quote from our mayor, Helen Tran. And it says, I'm confident that the council will take action on October 18th and that everyone will welcome Mr. Montoya and support him. We have fully vetted his background and are confident that he has the strength and character to lead San Bernardino. He has demonstrated in the past that he will stand up and do what is the right thing for himself and his community. Charles Montoya is exactly the type of leader we need. Well, I saw that. My heart began to, feel a little pride. I mean, if Mayor Helen Tran is saying that this person exemplifies the type of character and leadership that we have been so desperately calling for, well, I'm right there with her. And fully vetted, oh my goodness. Hopefully this guy's resume was stuck underneath of Steve Kerrigan's, because I mean, if this exemplary leader full of character was available, there's no way in the world that Mayor Helen Tran and the other council members would have ever considered a previously fired city manager who was hiding financial information from the public and themselves. Like, oh my gosh, this must have been missed. So I wanted to make sure. I wanted to follow Mayor Helen Tran into the future and look at this fully vetted background. So I did a Google search, just a quick Charles Montoya, city manager. That's all it took. You guys can do the same thing. The first thing I found about Charles Montoya was that his previous city, the city of Avondale, voted to terminate him for cause in December of 2021. It said by a vote of 7-0, the Avondale City Council today, December 23rd, voted to terminate its employment agreement with the city manager, Charles A. Montoya, with cause, effectively immediately. The city council also directed the city attorney to take the necessary steps to implement its action. The council's action comes one day after an executive session was called to discuss the city manager's employment agreement. On Wednesday following the executive session, the council, in a special meeting, voted to place Montoya on administrative leave and appoint Assistant City Manager Charlene Pinea as acting city manager. Pinea, who has worked for the city in the past 2 decades, will run the day-to-day operations of the organization in the interim until a permanent replacement is named. The council and I are confident that the organization is in the capable hands of a professional team and that the operations of the city will continue to run smoothly, said the mayor, Ken Weiss. The action we took was done in the best interest of the city organization and the residents we serve. I have asked all city employees to continue to fulfill their roles as dedicated public servants. The current circumstances have not changed with regard to the progress the city has made. Avondale remains strong. Our financial outlook is extremely positive, and we are fortunate to have the best employees working here. Well, I mean, this is just one thing, right? A unanimous decision to terminate someone for a reason. Now, look, I've said this before. City managers, as we know, as we've gone through 12 and 12 years, are let go for a myriad of just politics. Firing a city manager for a cause requires the city to have backup, requires them to have material evidence that will hold up in court. So, okay, well, what possibly could they have fired him for? Oh man, well, here's what happened. They posted the they posted the notice of termination. The employment severance with cause. So you can either be fired for without cause, you get an agreement. His agreement was 10 months of pay, or if they find a reason to fire you, you can be terminated without pay. If the city council terminates this agreement with cause for a reason, no severance pay will be paid to Montoya. For the purpose of this agreement, with cause shall mean that the city council at a duly posted public meeting has determined that Montoya has either in his personal or professional capacity severely damaged the reputation of the city or the city council, or otherwise substantially impaired the city's ability to maintain or attract businesses, or E, caused or allowed any practice, activity, decision, or organizational circumstance which is either illegal, immoral, imprudent, or in violation of ISMA Code of Ethics. With respect to each of the following actions, the city council has determined that you have damaged the reputation of the city or city council and acted immorally, imprudently, and unprofessionally, and in violation of the city charter, the terms of employment agreement, the city policies, procedures, and the ISMA Code of Ethics. This is what they substantiated their claim. Here's the reasons that they listed. Number one, you violated the city charter by failing to reside in the city during part of your employment as the city manager. You were aware of the city charter requirement that the city manager must reside in the city during his entire tenure in office, starting 6 months after the appointment. You also obfuscated, deflected, and misled city staff and city members when inquiries were made about your residency. As you guys know or may remember, our previous charter required that our city manager live in our city, and Avondale required the same. The second reason that they fired him, you directed city staff to pay you funds that you claimed were due from the city under your misreading of section 6.3 of the employment agreement. In fact, you were not entitled to this payment under the employment agreement or pursuant to city policies and procedures. So what this means is he made city people pay him money. He stole money, in essence, from his own city that he was not entitled to. Number three, you took a loan against your retirement account and have failed to make timely payments on the loan, potentially jeopardizing the tax-exempt status of the city's plan and the opportunity for other employees to take loans against their retirement funds. That's rough. I mean, so okay. Number four, you sought and received tuition reimbursement funds in excess of the amounts allowed in the employment agreement. In addition, you received tuition payments from the city in advance of paying for or taking classes without proper documentation and through the improper use of your procurement card and the procurement cards of other city staff. Now, this is interesting, and I want to talk about this. I'm seeing the comments come through, so we're going to talk about it. So what this is saying is that he asked for money to be given to him for classes he never took or were even registered for, that he was using his credit card, like a city credit card, and other cards of city staff to get money in reimbursement. If you guys remember, we had a whole issue with our former mayor, John Valdivia, doing the same thing for a private party. So this is basically the theft of public funds. Number five, you failed to refuse to repay vehicle allowance funds that were distributed to you in error. There's something about this guy's willingness to take taxpayer money that he is not entitled to and to lie about where he lives. Again, a lot of issues that just red flag over here. The city will make arrangements to have your personal effects delivered to you and collect any property you may have in your possession. Your final paycheck will be deposited to your bank account. Look, these are big allegations. Stealing money is a huge, huge issue, especially when you are entrusted with the public's money. Us, me, you, we pay our taxes so that we can receive services in return, not so our city managers and public officials can have private parties, tuition reimbursements they're not entitled to, car allowances they shouldn't receive. It's an issue, so much so. And this is really where I feel, Mayor Tran, you missed your vetting, that the city asked the Arizona Attorney General's office to investigate their claims. And right now, currently, Charles Montoya is under investigation by the Attorney General of Arizona. This character, this leader that Mayor Tran has put her name on, is under investigation by the Attorney General's office. What part of the vetting, right up into the third slide, wasn't a red flag? Is my question. And look, a lot of people talk about how excited we are that this would have been the first male Hispanic city manager. I'm going to tell you something. As someone who is Hispanic and I don't care. I don't care what color you are, what race, ethnicity you claim. What I care is that if you come here, you haven't stolen money, been alleged to have stolen money, and that you are not under investigation by the Attorney General's office. It doesn't matter what you are if you're not qualified, ethical, moral, or a good leader, or that you don't have any character. I don't care. That's me personally, you guys. I just want to put that out there. So this is so far, I mean, according to the mayor, this is what has been vetted. They've seen this, I guess. Now, Charles Montoya has filed his own lawsuit this year, filed it April 18th, 2023, and they are still in court. Now, I want us to realize this, that we have been going through this recruitment process since June of this year, that they have interviewed in July. So in July 5th of this year, he filed a motion to extend time to exchange disclosures. So he's actively, in fact, Tuesday, September 19th, the city of Avondale was still filing paperwork, you guys. The guy, so we want to hire somebody that sues his city. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. He is suing to get his job back. The filing is asking for the city to rehire him as the city manager, as well as monetary compensation. So Mayor Helen Tran and the council know that this man, Charles Montoya, is currently in litigation to get his old job back. And in the interim of that, he has applied to the city of San Bernardino as what? A placeholder so he can receive a paycheck? Yes, I would like a job, but I want you guys to be fully aware that should my lawsuit prevail, I'm going back to Arizona. So I don't really want to work for you. I just didn't get a severance, is what I'm hearing. Mayor Tran, what did you hear? Council, what did you hear? Did you ask? I don't get it. Now look, I'm gonna be honest. Those 4 causes is an issue, because in the same article, he said, well, if you would have just told me, if you would have given me adequate time, I could have fixed these things. So he's not in what they're saying is not that he's denying that he took money that didn't belong to him, that he withheld paying back funds that he borrowed, that he sold his house in the city before ever purchasing another one. It's that, well, I didn't have enough time to fix what you caught, is the claim. And because I didn't have that time, you disparaged my name. This was within maybe 5-6 minutes of a Google search of this thoroughly vetted candidate. Let me look at the comments real quick. Hang on a sec. So I want to say hi, Scott. Hi, Amy. Hi, Tim. And then Keith says they're trying to rush everything. Something is very fishy. I 100% will get to that. Mayor and council vetted is the key. Yes. Mayor Tran matching energy with Montoya. Both are guilty of covering up corruption. We're going to talk about that too. Why are they hiring another crook? New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, California. A failure in all 4 states. We're going to talk about that. Yes. And then let's get into the next places. Thank you guys for leading me into the next conversation. So before he came and all of this stuff went on, he was the town manager of the city of Florence in Arizona. And they let him go. after less than 3 years on the job, they fired him. Now, there was a lot of discussion about why. Apparently, he pushed some projects forward that were costly and some didn't agree with it. There was an issue and he was brought into a lawsuit, which was interesting. We're going to talk about why this is interesting. So there had previously been 2 detectives that claimed whistleblower rights in a wrongful termination suit. And this was prior to him coming on as town manager. So you would think, well, this has nothing to do with him. This doesn't make sense. Why are we bringing this up? Well, this lawsuit alleges that even though they filed in 2012, that when he became the town manager, he still conspired with the previous administration to cover up gross misconduct. So while he may claim that and he did when he went to the city of Watsonville, which is where he left, after here, he left to go to the city of Watsonville. He claimed that this had nothing to do with him. This was before his time. Well, yes or no, because if this is something that is so prior to you becoming the town manager, why would you be named in it 2 years later for covering it up? This is a red flag. Apparently that missed the vetting process. But as someone who is supportive of our PD, who is watching what is currently happening with current lawsuits, this is troublesome. Why would you ever want to cover up corruption, mishandling of any type of affairs due to wrongful terminations? Like, why would you insert yourself apparently into something that had nothing to do with you? A very good question that the community didn't get to ask. In looking at these 2 issues, in looking at the history of this city and what has gone on over these last couple months, this is now, residents of San Bernardino, this is now the second candidate that our mayor and select council members are trying to bring to our city with a bad history. So it's incumbent upon us to ask, why are Mayor Helen Tran and select council members working so hard to bring in a new city manager that has a history of hiding financial documents, stealing public funds, being fired for cause, having limited experience, and being unqualified? Why? Why would anybody who was elected to serve the best interests of our community want anybody here that has anything other than a strong reputation of ethics, morals, results, and then tell us this is the greatest character and leadership that they will put their names on and stand by? Now we know what we know about Helen Tran's history in the city as the HR director, which is why we have 5 lawsuits. Because employees were allowed to be sexually harassed, bullied at the hands of our previous mayor under her watch. So if they're trying to bring, if Mayor Helen Tran and whatever council members are going to vote for this are trying so hard to bring bad city managers here, my question is, are the mayor and whatever council members trying or planning to steal public funds? Are the mayor, Helen Tran, and select council members trying or hoping to hide financial information from our community? Is Mayor Helen Tran and any council members that vote for Charles Montoya hoping to commit corruption and get away with it? Because if that's the plan, if this most vetted candidate is the best we can do, you know what? Why not just bring Valdivia's back? Why not just put John Valdivia back in the seat, back at the helm? If we want someone to steal our public funds for their own private use, to try and hide information from us, to be corrupt, what did we work so hard for? If this is where we're going back to. Mayor Tran said, we have fully vetted the background of Charles Montoya and are confident that he has the strength and character to lead San Bernardino. That he has demonstrated in the past that he will stand up and do what is the right thing for himself and his community. That Charles Montoya is exactly the type of leader we need. So my question, neighbors, friends, community, do you agree with Mayor Tran? She said she fully vetted. This was the Google search. This is what our community has learned in less than 24 hours about Charles Montoya. Is Charles Montoya the leader we need? When you think about our future, when you think about the future for your children, for yourself, is Charles Montoya the guy that you see in charge? Does Charles Montoya have the strength and character that we want? Now, Helen Tran believes that he perfectly aligns with the type of character that she wants to see in City Hall. And any council member that votes for him is telling us publicly that that aligns with the type of character they want to see. And oh yes, I agree with Mayor Helen Tran. Charles Montoya will absolutely stand up to do what he believes is right for himself. That's why he's suing to get his job back and to get a paycheck at the same time on the backs of the residents and taxpayers of the city of San Bernardino. So I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just asking you to think. Think about what you want. Think about what you believe is best for the city of San Bernardino. If what was presented, as Fred Charette and Theodore Sanchez have said, is nothing to worry about, as you know, they love to talk in the community, they're out championing this guy, and you know, that's their candidate. Okay, they say they have the votes of Juan and Sandra as the you know, the gang of four has proven themselves. They've got their tag-alongs. Hey, but what does that mean to you? And so what I challenge you to do is to come to the council meeting on Wednesday, October 18th at 7 p.m. and sign up to speak publicly, because his contract is on the agenda. And share your thoughts. Do you agree or do you not agree? Is this the best candidate for the city of San Bernardino? I thank you guys so much. You can, prior to the meeting, have a discussion with your council members, reach out, call, email, meet them in person, and tell them your thoughts and feelings. Some people believe that Fred Charette would never stand behind someone with this type of reputation. I'm letting you guys know, I've already heard from residents that he has gone out of his way to try and dismiss everything that we've just covered. That Mayor Tran is standing by everything that has been publicly disclosed. And so we always have to ask ourselves, why? What are we in store for? When you're willing to bring someone in here that will hide information and steal from your residents? What is your character? What type of leader are you? And where does your allegiance truly lie? So thank you guys. I hope this was informational and educational, and you know, put your comments in, share away, and Wednesday will be definitely an interesting evening. So I will talk to you later. Have a good night, San Bernardino.